I'm not a man, I'm dynamite. It may sound like an Instagram bio, but it was written 130 years ago by Friedrich Nietzsche. He wasn't an influencer, but understood hype culture, FOMO, and the pressure to present your best self long before social media. His warning God is dead wasn't celebratory, but a sign the old rules were breaking down. Why are Gen Z and Gen Alpha drawn to Nietzsche today? Why do performers like Kanye West quote him? And why is he considered the creator of Superman? How can a 19th century philosopher be so relevant today? Nietzsche didn't want to explain the world, he wanted to shake it up. While other philosophers sought order, Nietzsche asked, why do we actually believe in this order? Morality, truth, tradition. For him, truth is a metaphor, something that's valid as long as it helps us cope with life. As soon as a truth ceases to have any effect, it loses its value. Then Nietzsche says it's like a coin that's lost its worth, just metal. Whether morality or religion, all are human constructs, practical but also dangerous, because they relieve us of responsibility. Nietzsche's most famous quote, God is dead, was not a reckoning, but empowerment.
So Nietzsche thinks that religion, and especially Christianity, turns weakness into virtue and resentment into morality. So for example, if I'm unable to take power, I just call it humility and make it a virtue.
Nietzsche's brutal message is, there are no more excuses, no one to comfort you, not even alcohol. Don't numb yourself, endure, stay aware. What does not kill me makes me stronger. You alone are responsible for yourself. His ideal is the Übermensch, a kind of Superman, but not stronger or better, just freer.
The Übermensch for Nietzsche names the possibility of existence where you have grown beyond your attachments and where you have power over your own self.
But who was this Friedrich Nietzsche with his impossible demands on humanity? Friedrich Nietzsche was born the son of a pastor near Leipzig in 1844. His childhood was marked by religion and little freedom. His father died early, and Nietzsche grew up surrounded almost entirely by women. He was sensitive, highly gifted, and talented with languages. He was not an alpha male, but rather observant and attentive. At the age of 24, he became a professor in Basel, but his dream career ended quickly. He suffered migraines, stomach problems, and depression. His body told him stop. He quit. He gave up security and lived alone, traveling, staying in small rooms on little money.
So he probably learned very early on that philosophy is not abstract reasoning kind of floating above life and floating above everybody's minds. But it's a symptom or a strategy kind of how to cope with life, a sort of response to our life. And I think that is what makes his philosophy so haunting.
Thinking and writing became his refuge. Nietzsche also composed music, but mainly for himself. His books sold badly. He was considered difficult, eccentric, and inaccessible. He was sometimes seen as an almost violent thinker. Nietzsche always said that philosophy was best done with a hammer. That is a great metaphor for a philosophy that's supposed to shake us up and make us re-examine ourselves. In 1889, he suffered a breakdown in Turin, Italy. He's said to have thrown his arms around the neck of a horse that was being whipped. Myth or not, Nietzsche was never the same after that, and spent his last years in and out of psychiatric care, dying at the age of 55. A life full of ruptures was precisely what gave rise to his radicalism. This is where it gets tricky. Nietzsche was not a Nazi, far from it.
Nietzsche hated nationalism, anti-Semitism, and any kind of mass movements. He despised this herd thinking.
But after his death, his sister took over his estate. Her agenda was nationalistic, anti-Semitic, and ideological. Taking his quotes out of context and rearranging his texts, she turned Nietzsche into a kind of pioneer of German strength. For the Nazis, this was perfect. His Übermensch was co-opted as a representative of the master race.
So the Nazis treated the Übermensch as a racial ideal, sort of biologically superior, Aryan, physically dominant, and it became this kind of visual and political symbol of racial hierarchy and basically German national destiny.
What does not kill me makes me stronger became a rallying cry for war and violence.
It's almost like the perfect inversion.
In fact, Nietzsche despised blind obedience and the cult of leadership. His Übermensch is not a soldier, but an independent thinker. Look at TikTok or Instagram.
God is dead. This was never meant to be edgy.
Hundreds of thousands are raving about him. Our expert Denise is a fangirl too, but why?
It's kind of a bit weird now, because he doesn't offer us any solutions, which is precisely, I think, why he remains so compelling and why people keep reading him. And I found what captivates people especially is this kind of connectedness to someone from 125 years ago. Like the amounts of comments I get on videos that say, humans have always been the same and, we always have the same thoughts and worries and aspirations.
An old grey man, and at the same time a trailblazer, and even a visionary. Nietzsche's philosophy has something prophetic about it. Of course, this can only be said in hindsight, but people say that Nietzsche foresaw the future. More than 100 years after Nietzsche's death, Kanye West has brought one of Nietzsche's key statements into pop culture. In Stronger, he sings, by providing the inspiration for these lyrics, Nietzsche arguably became the only great thinker to get a #1 hit on the Billboard Top 100. More than 100 years ago, he knew what was coming.
A lot of people really identify with things Nietzsche writes. And despite there being like 125 years between us and him, the way he diagnoses modern anxieties, it's disturbingly accurate, really. Like we've got his nihilism, exhaustion, moral confusion, performative virtues. Like we all know it today. So like we all have this feeling of nothing really matters. We're all worn down by like constant pressure to justify or to optimize ourselves or to perform something.
Smartphones and endless screen time dominate our everyday lives. Even back then, Nietzsche warned that constant distraction weakens our ability to reflect. One thinks with a watch in one's hand, even as one eats one's midday meal while reading the latest news of the stock market. One lives as if one always might miss out on something. He also warned against mob rule, against mass outrage, herd mentality, and moral hubris. Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. With a click, you're part of the online masses. Common enemies are raised. Anger grows. Nietzsche would see this as a breeding ground for envy and spite. Nietzsche is taken as an effective guide for today, someone whose words can influence and even change our lives. Some have exploited this potential in books like What Would Nietzsche Do? Or Hiking with Nietzsche, or frame Nietzsche sayings to hang on the wall. Nietzsche merchandise is everywhere, from t-shirts to socks. Pop art Nietzsche, Nietzsche rubber ducks, Nietzsche wearing a Trump hat. Nietzsche himself would have despised such excess and consumerism. Then, of course, there's his mustache, very impressive by today's standards. It has inspired facial hairstylists 2.0, among whom the style is simply known as Nietzsche. Today, Nietzsche is almost everywhere, often abridged, often misrepresented, but never completely absent. Would he approve? Who knows? But even back then, he knew. My time has not yet come. Some are born posthumously. The fact that no one listens to me, that no one knows how to receive from me today is not only comprehensible, it seems to me right that it is so. So, what's your take on Nietzsche?